To believe in democracy is to understand that each of our citizens has wisdom and has a voice. And if we refuse to listen to that voice, even our most successful fights will secure very little.
Do you think our democracy is at risk in this election?
I think that it is. I always keep saying democracy is great, of course, but democracy people take for granted. It's a word that some people don't even understand. They take it for granted. It's about right and wrong, period. The guy's a monster. He is beyond wrong. It's almost like he wants to do the most horrible things that he can think of in order to get a rise out of us. I don't know what it is, but he's been doing it, and it's scary.
Are you
Excuse my French.
Robert De Niro doesn't just criticize, he demolishes. And JD Vance, he never stood a chance. One moment, Vance is trying to present himself as a serious politician, and the next, De Niro is tearing into him with the precision of a mob boss in a Scorsese film. With razor-sharp wit, De Niro calls out Vance's MAGA transformation, his unwavering loyalty to Trump, and his sudden forgetfulness when it comes to democracy. It's a scene straight out of Hollywood, and De Niro just made the vice presidential hopeful the punchline of his latest award-worthy performance. Buckle up.
We're in a very bad situation. I remember you and I about 5-6 years ago talking down at the Spring Studios, something about, I said, what just happened. No, it didn't. Didn't happen. It's all about truth. And what we have here is a denial of truth all over the place. And even the speech that he made after is insane. It's just insane, and I'm very, very concerned about it. I think we all are. It's insane. So that's why I felt I had to do something, say something about it, to go on record.
And so one of the takeaways is not just that the Republican Party base is somehow fundamentally flawed in a way that's unique in American political history. It's that Trump is a really bad candidate, and frankly, I think a really bad person.
Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. You won't want to miss this. Unfortunately for JD Vance, political amnesia isn't as contagious as he might have hoped. His past criticisms of Trump, once spoken with the certainty of a man who never imagined he'd need Mar-a-Lago's approval, are still out there, lingering in old interviews, tweets, and archived video clips. No matter how hard he tries to rewrite history, the receipts remain. There's always a clip of him, clear as day, laying out exactly why he believed Trump was a threat to democracy, unfit for office, and morally bankrupt. Awkward.
Kristen, I think that I've learned my lesson on speaking for the president before he and I have actually talked about an issue.
He's so stupid. I mean, look at the lame, inane things that he said. He's so stupid, he can't even say anything clever or smooth. He's a moron.
Now, Vance is performing verbal gymnastics worthy of an Olympic gold medal, hoping no one notices the whiplash. The man who once warned that Trump was a danger to the country has vanished, replaced by someone now insisting Trump is its only hope. He's perfected the art of sycophantic sound bites, delivering them with the forced enthusiasm of a hostage reading a prepared statement. Every interview, every tweet, every carefully rehearsed defense of Trump drips with desperation. The kind that suggests he knows exactly how ridiculous he looks, but is in too deep to turn back now.
And my biggest problem with Trump, I mean, and there are many, many things to pick out, but my biggest problem with Trump is that his message to the right, especially the white working class of which I came from, is anti-conservative and in some ways anti-American. It's fundamentally that the deck is so stacked against you that unless I'm the president, nothing that you do will change your life's outcomes. I think it's wrong, and I think it's very self-destructive.
I mean, he's so blatantly stupid. He's a punk, he's a dog, he's a pig, he's a con, a bullshit artist, a mutt who doesn't know what he's talking about, doesn't do his homework, doesn't care, thinks he's gaming society, doesn't pay his taxes. He's an idiot. Colin Powell said it best. He's a national disaster. He's an embarrassment to this country. It makes me so angry that this country has gotten to this point, that this fool, this bozo, has wound up where he has. He talks how he wants to punch people in the face. Well, I'd like to punch him in the face. This is somebody that we want for president? I don't think so. What I care about is the direction of this country. And what I'm very, very worried about is that it might go in the wrong direction with someone like Donald Trump. If you care about your future, vote for it.
And yet, despite all his efforts, Vance will never truly earn Trump's trust. To die-hard MAGA fans, he's a convenient tool. To everyone else, he's just another politician who traded his spine for power. But Robert De Niro, he remembers everything. To him, this isn't just another case of a politician flip-flopping on their morals. It's a full-blown Broadway production titled Sellout, the JD Vance story. The man who once built his brand on honest working-class values has now morphed into a walking, talking, Trump-approved bobblehead.
I think you guys have been able to deport about 37,600 people, which is not a small number, but to really get those numbers up, it would have to be about 60,000 a week to hit that 12 million mark. You run out of beds. You have like 47,000 people in detention, but you've run out of beds. What next?
Well, first of all, we have to do this sequentially, Laura. So what the president said on the campaign is the very first and most important thing is to secure the borders. You know, we have 20 million, maybe more illegal aliens in this country right now. We have to stop that number from growing. And by the way, in 6 weeks, we've almost accomplished complete border security. You've had places that had 1,500 illegal encounters a day. Now they're at 30 illegal encounters a day. We've cut illegal border crossings by well over 95%. And frankly, I think those numbers are going to continue to come down.
I don't understand why people are not taking him seriously, because you read about it historically in other countries that they didn't take the people seriously. I think Hitler, Mussolini, they're fools and clowns. Well, there will be, and I hear it. He's done everything. What more do you need? It's almost like he wants to do the worst that he could possibly do to show this country to with us.
And De Niro, who spent decades perfecting the art of spotting phonies, frauds, and wise guys with selective amnesia, wasn't about to let this one slide. Because let's be real, Vance didn't just change his mind. He slammed the political reset button so hard it practically rewrote history. His past criticisms of Trump erased. His once principled stance magically replaced with whatever keeps him in Trump's good graces. It's the kind of transformation that makes you wonder if he woke up one morning and decided his entire personality was up for negotiation.
I know that you guys are working hard every single day, and I think it's pretty good news, right? That as of a couple of months ago, you have an administration that's working with you and facilitating your hard work instead of making it harder to innovate, which is, I think, what the last administration did. Though, in defense of Joe Biden, he was asleep most of the time. I don't think he totally realized what he was doing, but certainly didn't make it easier. His administration did not for our innovators.
But first, do you remember Robert De Niro, the tough guy who played Raging Bull Jake LaMotta and Goodfellas wise guy Jimmy Conway, but lately has become a weeping, shrieking victim of Trump derangement syndrome? Well, check this out as Trump himself, or okay, maybe someone just doing a Trump impersonation, confronts De Niro in New York earlier this week.
Bobby, it's your favorite president. I forgive you, Bobby, for being such a loser about the election.
But De Niro wasn't just calling out the obvious hypocrisy. He was exposing the bigger con. Politicians like Vance assume people are too distracted, too exhausted, or too blindly loyal to notice when they're being played. The idea that someone could publicly trash Trump, write entire books about how dangerous he is, then turn around and pretend they've been in the MAGA club all along. It's almost impressive in its shamelessness. Almost. The problem? Vance isn't fooling everyone, and certainly not De Niro, because at the end of the day, this isn't just about one guy flip-flopping to save his career. It's about how easily democracy gets trampled when people in power decide that principles are just inconvenient obstacles on their way to the top. And that's where De Niro went for the jugular. This wasn't just your run-of-the-mill political backpedaling. This was Olympic-level, record-breaking, physics-defying flip-flopping. JD Vance didn't just change his stance, he performed a full ideological exorcism on himself. The same man who once compared Trump to a certain mustachioed dictator was now standing there, nodding along like a kid desperately trying to impress his cool new stepdad.
This implicates something I said earlier, though, that there's this question of the alternative, right? I didn't vote for Trump. I am hopeful, like I think most Americans, that he'll be successful because his success is now the country's success. But I didn't vote for Hillary either. And so there's this issue where even for me, as problematic as I saw a lot of Trump's rhetoric and his ideas on how to fix some of these problems, I agreed with him that the problems were there. But it was just really hard for me to vote for Hillary Clinton. And that goes to show that in our oppositional two-party system, that unless you have somebody else to vote for, then people are going to accept a lot of bad stuff. From my worry with Trump, and one of the complaints that I raised during the campaign, is that political rhetoric actually really matters, right? The way that politicians talk about things actually manipulate the conversation.
What changed? Not Trump. Trump is still the same guy, still spouting the same nonsense, still breaking records for the most criminal indictments per golf swing. The only thing that changed was Vance's thirst for power. Turns out, principles are great, until they start getting in the way of a Senate seat and a shot at something bigger. And De Niro? He wasn't about to let this one slide, because at some point, it stops looking like political survival and starts looking like a full-blown personality transplant. Vance went from a self-proclaimed champion of working-class America to a guy who grins and claps like an audience plant every time Trump so much as clears his throat. The same man who once warned that Trump was dangerous is now hoping the big guy might pick him to carry his golf bag in 2028. But here's the real kicker. Vance isn't even good at pretending.
Certainly
His
be rooting
transformation
for you in
isn't
the
seamless.
days and weeks to
It's
come.
awkward, forced,
Now,
and about as convincing as a bad actor struggling to read cue cards. He's like a guy who's hated pineapple
I hope that's not the
on pizza
last
his
bit of
whole
applause
life,
that I get,
but
but
suddenly swears it's the
we
best thing
gather
ever.
at this
Except
conference,
you
of
can
course,
still
to
see him
discuss
grimacing with every
security.
bite.
Well, Margaret, I don't agree that all these immigrants or all these refugees have been properly vetted. In fact, we know that there are cases of people who allegedly were properly vetted and then were literally planning terrorist attacks on our country. That happened during the campaign, if you may remember. So clearly not all of these foreign nationals
but there are
have been properly
30,000
vetted.
people in the pipeline, Afghan refugees.
But my primary
Do you stand by
concern
it?
as the vice president, Margaret, is to look after the American people. And now that
So
we
no.
know that we have vetting problems with a lot of these refugee programs, we absolutely cannot unleash thousands of unvetted people into our country. Months ago, he was allegedly properly vetted, and many people in the media and the Democratic Party said that he was properly vetted. Clearly, he wasn't. I don't want my children to share a neighborhood with people who are not properly vetted, and because I don't want it for my kids, I'm not going to force any other American citizens' kids to.
Do you really worry that if he were to win again, and I'm not saying this like it's such a far-fetched notion, if he were to win again, that he would not give up power?
You know he won't. You know he won't. He even said it. He's never going to give it up. And anybody who deludes themselves in thinking that he is, shame on you, because he thinks he's a gangster. He does everything like a gangster.
And De Niro? He sees it. The whole world sees it. Because at the end of the day, nothing exposes a fraud quite like watching them struggle to believe their own performance. And that's the real danger. Not just JD Vance's flimsy moral compass, but what it represents. For every Vance out there, grinning through the humiliation of betraying his past self, there are dozens more just like him, eager to trade whatever's left of their integrity for a seat at the big table. When politics turns into nothing more than a contest of who can grovel the hardest, democracy isn't just an afterthought, it's collateral damage. The moment politicians realise that standing for something requires actual courage, they fold like cheap lawn chairs. And when enough of them do it, that's when democracy starts to crack. Because democracy isn't some indestructible force. It doesn't run on autopilot. It survives only when people are willing to defend it. But when the supposed guardians of democracy are too busy rewriting their own beliefs in real time, what's left? A system that rewards blind loyalty over accountability. A world where saying the right things matters more than doing the right thing. And that's how the slow erosion begins. Not with some dramatic collapse, but with a steady stream of compromises, sellouts, and silence. Vance thinks people don't notice, that they'll just accept whatever version of him he's selling today. But De Niro's point was simple. We see it, and if democracy is going to survive, it'll be because people refuse to look the other way. And just like that, the internet did what it does best: obliterate whatever dignity JD Vance had left. Within minutes, the De Niro roast special was everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. If a platform existed, it had a clip of De Niro tearing Vance apart. The captions were merciless. Goodfellas meets spineless fellas. JD Vance's past statements versus his present desperation, a tragic comedy. When your hero rejects you, but you still show up with pom-poms. The verdict was in, and no amount of backpedaling could rewrite this one.
And I'm sure all of us saw there were a few protesters outside, and I can't be the only person wondering, it's a little after noon on a Friday, and don't you all have jobs? Who are the people? And I think that's one of the reasons why we've got to rebuild American manufacturing and support great companies like Vantage Plastics, because we want those people to get off the streets and back to work. It'd be good for them, and it'd be good for everybody else too.
Vance's problem is that he got caught mid-transformation. Once upon a time, he had no problem dragging Trump. He called him a cultural heroin addict, a danger to democracy, a con man, and then boom, Trump wins, MAGA takes over, and suddenly Vance is out here kissing the ring like a guy who just realized his entire political future depends on it. That's the part De Niro zeroed in on. It's not just Vance's shameless flip-flop. It's the fact that his entire identity as a politician is built on fraud. And he's not alone. Look at Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, and Kevin McCarthy. All of them went from mocking Trump to acting like his biggest fans overnight. It's the same script. Trash him when you think he's going to lose, then grovel when you realise he's got power. And Trump? He knows exactly how this game works. That's why, when he was asked if Vance could be his successor, he didn't even pretend to give a serious answer. Number. He said it bluntly, like a CEO laughing off an intern who thinks they might one day run the company.
This stuff. We're not going to have an administration where you have a president who sits there at cabinet meetings asleep while his wife runs the cabinet meeting and nobody's doing anything. We're going to talk about issues, and it does annoy me that leaked. I will say it was that
Vice President Vance's speech to the conference has ruffled quite a few feathers in Europe.
What did he say to ruffle them?
He was talking about the freedom of speech and migration in Europe. Do you believe that European leaders have a fundamentally different view of the world than this administration's?
Well, I heard his speech, and I tell you, you're talking about JD's speech, right?
Yes, sir.
I heard his speech, and he talked about freedom of speech, and I think it's true in Europe. It's losing. They're losing their wonderful right of freedom of speech. I see it. I mean, I thought he made a very good speech, actually, a very brilliant speech. Yeah. Europe has to be careful. And he talked about immigration. And Europe has a big immigration problem. Just take a look at what's happened with crime. Take a look at what's happening in various parts of Europe. I thought his speech was very well received, actually. I've heard very good remarks.